Welcome, Talmidei Chachamim. Today is Daf Samech Aleph, the Chiddush part. I'm going to try to say a Chiddush which is dependent on Rashi and Tosfos. Like my wife said, you have to give an explanation in the Rishonim, not against the Rishonim. So for all you Talmidei Chachamim out there, here it goes. The Mishnah on Daf Samech says, has a machlokes. It says, you shechted the par, and you brought the blood into the Kodesh HaKodashim, and it spilled while you're in the middle of the hazos. So you did 2 or 3 hazos, it spilled. You have to go. He has to go ahead, shech the par again, and start again, and do all 8 hazos with the par. Now it's a machlokas. At the end of the Mishnah, they say you're right. You do have to go shecht another par, but instead of sprinkling another 8 hazos, you sprinkled 4. You sprinkle another 4. You finish it off. The Gemara in Samech Aleph as an explanation of the machlokas. What's the machlokas based upon? The Gemara says in the middle and towards the bottom of Samech Aleph and Aleph. Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'shnayim mikra echad darsho mudam chatas hakipurim achas b'shana. It says regarding the chatas of Yom Kippurim, which is the par Yom Kippur, achat b'shana, once a year. And Meir savar chatas achas amarti lach v'lo shnei chatos. Rabbi Elazar Shimon savar chito echad amarti lach v'lo shnei chituyin. Meir, who is the Tanakam of our Mishnah, says the word chatas. So it says chatas in singular, so only one chatas and not 2 chatos. So therefore, you have to, if you messed up with the first one, the blood spilled, you have to bring another chatas. So it'll only be 1 chatas. And Rabbi Elazar and Shimon say chitu echad amarti lach v'lo shnei chituyin. And they darshan that you can't sprinkle. It has to be 1 sprinkling. If you go ahead and sprinkle 4 hazos, and then you go ahead and you sprinkle another 8 hazos, so 4 sprinklings, you sprinkle twice. That you can't do. The Gemara on Samech Aleph on the bottom, the last 3 words. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Asham Mesora Shachtu Shalal Lishmo, Banu Lamachlokes, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. The case is, you have a carbon Asham, and you shecht it Shalal Lishmo. You shechted it, Rashi said, L'shem Oldo, L'shem Shlamim. It's the same machlokes as in our Mishnah between Rameir and Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. Rameir, the Amar Yavich Acher v'Yaskil b'Tchila, Hachanam Yavir Acher v'Yishchon. He says you have to start again, so therefore you shechted it in the wrong way. So you have to go bring another animal and shecht it. Elazar and Shimon Shalomrim Makom Shapasuk Mishamu Maskil Hacha Ein Lo Takana. They would say that you continue from where you stopped, and you did 4 hazos, you do another 4 hazos. Here, there's no takana, because we're not talking about the hazos over here. You started the avoda, and you shechted it. You're in the middle of the avoda, so nothing you can do about it. So where's Masla Rav Chisda about Oso Ksiv? Chisda says, Oso Ksiv, Rashi says, Oso Ksiv, Hekriv Oso La'asham, Oso Shehunafim Halog, V'lo Acher, a few L'Remeir, Enami Ein Lo Takana. Even according to Remeir, there's no Takana. This question is going according to Remeir. It says Oso. Here it's different than by Yom Kippur. With Asham Masora, it says Oso, that one, so therefore you can't replace it. So also Ein Lo Takana, just like Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. Now, Rashi, Tosfos asks a question. Tosfos has a fundamental question. Tosfos says, and they were Maskal Asha Mesora on the top of Samech Aleph Mebez, Tema Riva, Mai Ha Medami, the Kevan, the Lo Nishcha, the Shmo, Velo Allah, the Balam Klal, the Shem Chova, Mai Shayach Hacha, Asha Echad Amar Rachmana, Kamo La'el, Chatas Echad Amar Rachmana. He says, V'hakol Ma Shinatsan Meno, Command Leise Dami. He says it's not comparable, the 2 cases. How could you compare these 2 cases? The Asham Masora is talking about after you shechted it, Shalol L'Shem Ola, Shalol L'Shem Asham, L'Shem Ola, L'Shem Shlamim. They were talking about where you shechted it properly, you sprinkled some of the blood, and there was a hefsek. You spilled the blood, so you have to sprinkle more blood. They're not comparable, the cases. Here, when you shechted it, l'shalol l'shem chova, you did nothing. That's kwan delese dummy. So what's the comparison between the two cases? So you can clear Hakira over here. What's Machlokes Rashi and Tosfos? And therefore, based on that, Tosfos switches the gear sentences. We're talking about a case, Asham Mitzora. It picked Asham Mitzora because we're talking about the blood. You shechted it properly, just the blood spilled before you did the nesina on the boanos, on the thumbs of the person who was getting atonement. So, how do you explain Rashi? So, I want to say the Malchus Rashi and Tosos is dependent on this. It's a Mishnah in Zvachim that call karbonos that you shech shelo lishman kosher v'lo alu l'bayim l'shem chova. What does that mean? It says kosher. Kosher means that it's kosher, meaning the meat is kosher and it's not considered to be treif meat. It was a good shechita, but you weren't makayim the mitzvah, or it's a pshat that you were makayim the mitzvah of shechita. You're makayim part of the mitzvah of shechita of the asham. Let's say in this case an asham mitzvah. You were makayim the mitzvah of the shechita of the asham mitzvah, but it's disconnected from the rest of the asham. It's disconnected because you did it shalol l'shem chova. So therefore, you're makayim mitzvah of shechita, but it can't be connected with the nesinas dam afterwards. So say Rashi is going to learn that you actually were makayim in this mitzvah of shechita. You're makayim, and therefore it's comparable to the case before where you spilled the blood, where you did the shechita. But it was a korban chatas. Now, korban chatas is different than a korban asham. Korban chatas, the Gemara says in Zvachim, that if you're shochet a chatas shelo l'shem chova, it's not kosher. Well, it's not kosher at all. Why is it not kosher? Kosher, in the sense, Rashi is going to learn, it's not kosher in the sense of the mitzvah of chatas, because by chatas you have a vidui, and the whole purpose of the shechita is to be a gemar of that vidui. And if you didn't do a shechita l'shem chata, so therefore you lose the vidui, and the shechita, it's a kosher shechita. You could eat the animal, but it's not. You don't see the mitzvah of chatas, of the vidui, which is kapara for a chait. The asham, it's not dependent. There's no vidui by asham. The mitzvah is just a shechita. They're also going to learn like that. And that would also answer how Rashi is going to learn Maskar Rochisiva also ksiv. It's not a problem. It's going to be a question of Rabbi Meir, because by Asham Mesora, I was just kicked out of the Ezras Nashim because today is Yom Kippur Katan for the month of Tammuz, and I was filming the first part of this year, the Chiddush in the Ezras Nashim. Some old ladies came and they wanted to say Yom Kippur Katan, so I thought it was strange even for men to say Yom Kippur Katan, but ladies saying Yom Kippur Katan, whole new level, huh? Only in Telston, right? Telston is not Meir Sharim, so even a Meir Sharim would be a Chiddush. So continuing this point over here, that it would make sense. Rashi now says "Va'oso ksiv." Also, Rashi says it's a question of Rabbi Meir also. Why is it a question of Rabbi Meir? Why don't we just say that, just like it says that you bring another chatas, you bring the chatas, the blood spilled, so you shecht another chatas. It says one chatas, so you bring another chatas. Also, just bring another korban asham and do the tnufa with the log hashem. And that will be the one. That will be the one korban. What's the problem over here? The problem is that a chatas is different than an asham, as we said, and therefore when you do a shechita on the asham, so therefore it already affected part of the kapara. The shechita was a good shechita; it just can't connect with the nesinas bahonos and the hazos afterwards. So therefore it's different. That's why the Gemara says a question. Rashi explains the question in Rameir also, because once it started already, you can't do a tnufa. You can't take a new animal and do a tnufa with the lug Hashem, because the first one already started already. Therefore, by chatas, by korban chatas in Yom Kippur, so therefore, you could just bring another korban chatas and start all over again. And the Gemara says kasha. The Gemara says kasha. The question. Rav Chris is a good question. So how do you answer the question? When you say a kasha, you can answer the question. So we're going to answer it like Tosfos. We'll say that Tosfos will change the girsa in the Gemara, like Tosfos, that we're talking about an asham Masara Shachta, because Tosfos is going to learn that an asham that you shechted l'shem olo, l'shem shlamim, the pshat is, Tosfos is obviously learning that it means it's kosher, meaning it's a kosher shchita, but the mitzvah of shchita of asham wasn't consecrated at all. You didn't do any mitzvah of shchitas asham. There's no mitzvah of asham introduced at all. And therefore, he's going to force to learn the Gemara, as we're talking about, where you shechted the asham for the right reasons, but the dam spilled. So the kasha will be answered by Tosfos, and if you want to answer the question, you learn Tosfos. So, my fellow Talmidei Chachamim, you have your lesson for today. Whenever you have a kasha, the Gemara asks a kasha. Normally Tosfos is asking the kasha. Today the Gemara is asking the kasha and Tosfos is answering. So that's a lesson for today.